everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to talk about my labor and delivery story. So before I start out with this, I'm going to say I was induced. I had uterine growth restriction, which means my daughter was below the 10th percentile in growth, so they decided to pull her sooner rather than later because she wasn't getting enough nutrients from the placenta and she would get more from being here and being breastfed. So I'm going to start out on Monday, August 20th. I went in for my normal bi-weekly doctor's visit, and he went ahead and checked just to make sure. I was at 37 weeks at this point, and he said she is still pretty small, so we are going to go ahead and induce you. So we went home that day. I was having contractions, so I was praying that I would start labor on my own. We went to the store to kind of walk it out. We got all the toiletries we needed. We packed our bag, and still no baby. So then skip forward to Thursday the 23rd, my induction date came, and my fiance and I decided to go out for one last date before baby, and then we came home, and then around 9:30 p.m. we went to the hospital. I'll never forget that ride to the hospital. I was super emotional. I was just trying not to cry. It's a super weird thought thinking that you're leaving the house without a baby and coming back with one. So we just listened to music, calmed down on the way there, and it was raining. I was just like, it was kind of weird. It was like a scene from a movie or something. But when we got there, we went in through the ER and they directed us up to the OB floor. So when we got up there, they put us in a semi-private room and we were at the side closer to the door. So they started us on some forms and my preferences during birth, and then they put my IV port in, and they said they were going to go ahead and start my induction at midnight and to get some rest. Well, the couple on the side of the wall next to us had a child that was listening to a tablet all night, so we couldn't get any sleep, and that was okay. And also my fiance was in like a hard plastic chair, so it wasn't like a bed. He couldn't sleep in it. He wasn't comfortable. So he went to the vending machine and got some snacks for us, and then we kind of sat there and watched Netflix on his phone, and we waited until midnight. So at midnight they came in and they decided to try to start my induction with this pill. So you have 4 doses of this one pill, and they chop it up into fourths, and then they give you one every couple of hours or so. So they came in at midnight and they put the pill in my cervix, and at that point I was not dilated at all, so this was a little bit of a painful process for me. And when she put it in, she said, go ahead, try to get some rest, and I'll be in a couple hours to put the next one in. Well, every time a nurse would come in for the lady next to us, they would leave the door open. So we were pretty much awake all night. And on top of that, my night nurse really didn't come in and put that in every couple hours like she was supposed to. So I don't think it helped the pill work at all, and it really didn't work for me. So Thursday turned into a Friday, and at 6 a.m. it was shift change, and we kind of drifted on and off to sleep all night. So when shift change finally came, I met my daytime nurse, and this was actually my favorite nurse of the whole time I was in labor and delivery. I had her same nurses every day and night. So my daytime nurse came in and she said, get some breakfast, have someone bring your fiance breakfast, and then I will come in later with the doctor's orders on what we are going to do for you. So my fiance's parents brought him food, and I ordered some from the hospital. And then after a while, the girl next to me left, which was kind of relieving because since she was on this side of the room, her side of the room had the bathroom, and she wasn't ready to start labor. They were actually trying to prevent hers. So she was fully dressed and everything, but I was in a gown, so it was like awkward every time I had to walk over there to like her and her husband and her child with this open back gown. So anyways, she left. That was a relief to me. My nurse came back in and said the floor is full, but as soon as the room opens up, I'm going to have it cleaned and I'm going to snatch it for you. So go ahead and take a shower, pack up your things, and just relax. So my nurse came back in and said, you have one of 2 options. You can stay in this room and we'll put you on the more comfortable side with the pull-out bed and everything so your fiance has somewhere to sleep, or you can go into a birthing suite, but in a birthing suite your bed is going to be less comfortable. But I went ahead and opted for the birthing suite because it would have been a little bit more of a comfortable pull-out for him, and I knew the comfort of my bed really wasn't going to matter when I was in labor because I was going to be uncomfortable anyway because I had opted for no epidural. I really didn't want any pain medication. So she said, go ahead and take a shower. I'm going to grab a room as soon as it's available and then come grab you. around 11 or 12, she came in and she got me and she put me in a wheelchair and they wheeled me to this amazing birthing suite. It was a super beautiful room at our hospital, which really doesn't matter, but it was a kind of a nice perk. And she told me to just relax and get some more rest, and around 2 they came in and started me on my Pitocin. So after about an hour or so, then they started me, I really started to feel the contractions. At this point it was like mild period cramps, and I could still function pretty much. It was just more irritating than anything, and I had visitors coming in and out all day, and I was just really kind of trying to stay grounded. It didn't hurt bad at this point, but I knew that I was going to have to stay in the right mindset if I wanted to get through this without an epidural. So I was just kind of trying to stay calm for when they did get worse. So that night, right before shift change at 6 p.m., they checked me and I was only at a 1. As well as the monitor having trouble picking up my contractions and the baby's heart rate. So they said, we're going to go ahead and turn up your Pitocin a little bit, and we are going to switch you to a wireless monitor, which, because since I didn't have an epidural, I could get up and move around out of bed, but anytime I went to the bathroom or anything, I had to unplug my monitor from the machine and call a nurse and let them know. So I was really excited to have the wireless one. So with this wireless one, they came in with like a fine grit sandpaper, and they sanded down 4 spots where they were going to stick it to me, and then they stuck it on me, and immediately it started picking up my contractions, and her heart rate's so much better. But they discovered that my contractions were coming a little bit rougher than they projected, so I think they backed off of the Pitocin just a little bit, because they didn't want to like throw me into it all at once super fast and hard, because what Pitocin does is it makes your labor come faster but also harder, and you don't have as much of a break in between your contractions. So they went ahead and did that, and then I tried to rest as much as I could throughout the night, but my contractions kept progressing more and more, so it was hard for me to sleep through the pain. So then it skipped to Saturday the 25th. My contractions were coming very, very hard. I thought for sure that I was going to have a baby this day. So they wanted me to kind of get up and move around and see if that helped any. They brought in a peanut ball, which is basically like this foam ball thing shaped like it says like a peanut, and you kind of straddle that and get on it, and it's supposed to help you handle the contractions. I went on the birthing ball and bounced around, and nothing was helping, so the doctor suggested a Foley ball, and what he described this as was like a balloon that they put inside of you up against your cervix, and then they inflate it with a saline solution to help your cervix dilate. And he said he was going to put this in if I hadn't progressed any. So at about 10 p.m. they shut off my Pitocin. They said go ahead and get a meal, and then the doctor's going to come in and put this in for you. So I called my mom and had her bring me a salad and some fruit. I really wanted fresh food because the hospital food just was all frozen, and I needed something fresh to help me power through this labor. So around 11 or 12 p.m. my doctor came in and he said he was going to go ahead and put that in me to try and start my labor. So he examined me first. I was at a 2. This ball is actually supposed to fall out when you're around a 4, so that's how they know your labor is progressing. He tried to put it in normally and it wouldn't go in, so then he had to get the speculum, which is like, I'll insert a picture here. It is this super creepy thing. If you have a pap smear, you know what I'm talking about. So he put that in, and that was super painful since I wasn't dilated that much. And then he put it in and inflated it, and immediately I felt pressure. It puts pressure against your bladder. It puts pressure against what I assume is your colon, because I just felt like I had to go to the bathroom. But I figured I would tough it out because he said this for sure would help me dilate. So like I said, it put a lot of pressure on me, so I had to keep getting up and going to the bathroom. This is probably TMI, but I was really scared to go to the bathroom when I was on the table. So I kept getting up and going like as much as I could. And that was really the only nice thing about this ball, is it definitely like clears you out, I guess. That's actually its medical intention if it's not used for labor. So I was uncomfortable from that, and my contractions, like I said, were progressing more and more. They kept turning my pit up and up at this point. So I was just really uncomfortable, couldn't sleep throughout the night. Thank goodness for my fiance, he was my lifesaver. He helped me get up and like walk throughout all of this, and if I started having a contraction when I was walking, he would just kind of hold me there and help me get through it, so that was really nice. I could not ask for a better partner. He was so supportive. I was so grumpy throughout the thing, which within reason because labor hurts. So he helped me through that, and then finally he had laid down for rest, and I laid down for rest. And then around 1 a.m. I had woken up and I went to go pee, and then when I did, I saw this like mucusy, boogery, bloody looking thing in the toilet. Again, super gross. Labor was not glamorous. But anyway, I saw that and I thought, oh, I bet that's my mucus plug. So when I was walking back to the bed, I also felt some leaking. Now with the Foley ball, there is a little piece that comes out and it's taped to your leg. So I thought, oh no, it's starting to leak fluid, like the baby's pushing up against it. So I called my nurse and she said, no, there's no way for it to leak fluid. Your water probably just broke. Which was weird to me because it was just like a little bit of a dribble. It wasn't the gush that I was expecting. So she said that she would be in soon. Well, she wasn't. And then finally an hour later she came in and she took what looked like those little like pH strips you get to test your pool, and she tested the fluid and she goes, yep, your water just broke. But she tried to pull on the Foley ball and it wasn't coming out at all, so I wasn't dilating still. And she said, we're just going to leave that in and we're going to kind of let you progress naturally and you should have a baby by tomorrow, which was super exciting. And then I woke up Sunday the 26th and it was around shift change. When I had woken up, my nurse was coming in just to check my vitals and everything, and I looked up at the TV and I'll never forget Tokyo Drift was on, and the Fast and the Furious movies are my fiance's favorite series, so I was like, oh my gosh. So I looked over at him because I thought he had changed the channel and he was still fast asleep, so that was weird. And I was joking to myself that it had just came on for Luna to watch with her dad and it was time for her to come out. So the day went on and it was harder and harder to say no to any pain medication, but I knew that that's not what I wanted. But they kept upping my Pitocin because they really wanted me to dilate so that I could get this labor started since my water had broken. And then around 2 p.m. they said the doctor would be in to check me soon. So next was kind of a scary part. My hospital is a very good size, so typically you can, and I heard this like blood curdling scream. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And then a nurse came in and they're like, well, your doctor's gonna be a little bit longer because he has to stitch this lady up. And at that point I was like, girl, like she can stay inside of me, never mind. Like I don't want to go through what that lady just went through. So I was super scared at this point and I was like, yeah, okay, tell him to take his time. So then after about 30 minutes my doctor came in and he was like, I'm gonna go ahead and take this ball out. We don't think you're dilating since it hasn't fallen out on its own, so after I take it out we are going to discuss prepping you for C-section, which was super scary to me. I did not want a C-section. So anyway, he took it out and he did check my cervix again and he was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, what? And he was like, you're at a 6, you're not gonna have to have a C-section, you're gonna have a baby soon. And I was so ecstatic. And then next he was like, okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and proceed in breaking your water. And the nurse was like, wait a minute, her water already broke last night. He felt again and he was like, no, it's still intact. So for whatever reason he had to go out there and re-break it, and that was the gush of water that I was expecting earlier. And then after that things moved super fast. So after he broke my water, he said, are you sure you don't want an epidural? You don't want Stadol, which is a drug that kind of makes you feel drunk. It doesn't take away the pain, but it makes you kind of out of it. And I was like, no, I don't want anything. I really want this natural birth. That's what's important to me. And he said, okay, I'm not here to peddle epidurals, but if you want one, you have to have one now. So are you sure? And I said, yes, I'm sure. I do not want an epidural. So things really started to progress. My contractions got worse and worse. My nurse was really great with us, and she stayed lighthearted. We were kind of joking around with her and foreshadowing. We were like, have you ever delivered a baby? And she was like, I have only delivered one. And then they kept upping my Pitocin, and it got to the point where I did not have a break in between contractions. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. I've been in labor for 3 days now, and I think I need an epidural. And she said, okay, I'll go order one, but we're gonna talk about it before you actually get it, okay? Get it administered, because I know this isn't what you want. And I said, okay. And she came back, and then by that point, she was coaching me through my contractions, and she was telling me not to bear down, and I was like, I can't help it, I need to push. So I ended up getting my way, and I didn't need an epidural because it was too soon at that point, and I couldn't get one. So she told me not to push, and I said I can't help it, I needed to, and I started pushing hard. It was the only thing that gave me relief. She said, you need to quit pushing with your whole body. Your face is turning blue. You're losing oxygen. And I said, I can't help it. I gotta get this baby out. This is just what my body's telling me to do. So after about 5-10 minutes of pushing, she said, okay, you need to hold on. I need to call the doctor. So she called him once. We continued coaching me through contractions and pushing lightly, and he didn't come for a couple of minutes, and then she called him again, and she said, you need to get here now. So finally the doctor got in there, and he looked down, because I guess he was about to check me, and he was like, whoa, 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 let me wash my hands, let me get my gloves on. So he hurried up and did that as quick as he possibly could, and then I felt another contraction. Then my contraction was at its peak, so he said, go ahead and try to push, and I did, but it was too early because you have to push for the full 10 seconds. So he said, go ahead and wait, breathe, and then my next contraction came, and within one push, she was out. Our daughter, Luna Ray Mason, was born on a full moon. We had her name picked out before, but she was our little full moon baby. She was 5 pounds, 10 ounces, super tiny, just beautiful and perfect. And I just remember them holding her up and me seeing her and hearing her cry, and it was just all a blur, but everything that had happened those past 3 days just melted away. I forgot all the pain, I forgot everything. I was just so happy that she was here. So they went ahead and wrapped her up and put her on my chest. And right into motherhood, she peed on me right away, but you don't even care about bodily fluids at this point. I brought her up to my chest, and they tilted my bed up, and I got to nurse her for the very first time and do skin to skin, and it truly is like the best moment of your life. So then they did take her and put a diaper on her and weighed her and gave her to my fiance to do skin to skin. At our hospital, we have the first hour called the golden hour, and it is just an hour with the parents that the baby gets to do skin to skin. So as soon as they handed her to my fiance, my doctor came up and he talked to me and he said, I am so proud of you for doing that without an epidural. That was one of the worst labors that I have seen this year. And I was like, I'm proud of myself too. Like, honestly, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do that. So after that golden hour was over, my fiance went out to our family and brought them in to see our baby girl, and it was just the sweetest moment ever. Everybody was in awe. They were like, look at how small she is. My mom was crying. I was crying. It was a mess. So after everyone had kind of seen her, my dad said, do you want me to go get you some dinner? And I said, yes, please. I feel like I just ran a marathon. So him and his girlfriend went to go get me and Seth something to eat. And in the meantime, the nurses came in, and one of the nurses helped me to the bathroom, kind of cleaned me up, and then they wheeled me out of my room to go to my room. And what's really special about our hospital is they have a little button, and whenever a baby is born, the mom gets to go and press it, and it plays a lullaby. So they wheeled me out there, I played the lullaby, I almost started crying again. I was so emotional at this point, like, it was unbelievable. And then they wheeled me to my post-op room. And my dad showed up, he brought me something to eat. I was so tired, like, I could not even eat at that point. And I was just so in awe by this teeny tiny little baby. So I just sat there and watched TV and kind of spent time with her. And this room by far had the most comfortable bed out of all three. But I could not sleep that night. I let my fiance sleep, but I was just so excited about her. And I felt like I got this second wind, and she was latching like a champ. So we just nursed and we watched TV, and I held her while she slept because I just couldn't put her down. It was just this little bitty tiny baby that I felt like I wanted to hold and just to protect with everything that I had. So I just really didn't want to let her sleep on her own. And that pretty much was my labor and delivery story. We did have to stay in the hospital for 48 hours because she was a little bit on the smaller side, and even though I didn't have to have stitches or anything, I had a very, very rough labor. So they wanted to kind of monitor me and make sure I was healing as I should be. My healing process actually went very well. I know if you do breastfeeding, it's supposed to help you heal. And like I said, I didn't have an epidural. I didn't have any drugs. So I think that is kind of why as well. And then finally, after 48 hours, the birth certificate people came in. They filled out her birth certificate with me, said that I needed to go up to the courthouse and get it in a certain amount of time. The photographer came in and took her pictures, and then the nurse came in and said, we are going to get you your final forms, and then you are good to go home, which was such an exciting but also a scary thought. So after 5 days, we finally got to leave the hospital. So when we got to leave, my fiance pulled the car around and they wheeled me down with the baby, and I remember it was so weird. She was my first, so I felt like I was escaping the hospital with somebody else's like perfect little tiny baby, and everybody would look at you and, oh my gosh, look how tiny she is, look how beautiful, look at that fresh baby. And it was just so weird to be in that position, because I remember like looking at people like that, and now it was finally my turn. But we got her to the car and we got her in her car seat, and we didn't get a pumpkin seat. We actually got one of those convertible ones, which is fine. It's like 5 to 48 pounds, so she was just barely big enough. I felt like she was gonna slip out the whole car ride home. But we got her home safely, and the sun was shining, which was weird because it was raining whenever we went in 5 days prior, so we got to come home with this itty bitty baby. And then that's it. We were back to life as we know it now with Little and Array. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. More mommy videos or things like that, go ahead and subscribe. Down in the comments, tell me a little bit about your birth story with your first. Was it scary? Like, was it exciting? Was it a piece of cake? Let me know down below. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye.